Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Procore Duels here at Daytona for the inaugural duels for the Sundrop Cup Series. We finally have the top tier of the NSDCA in full swing with the brand new Cup cars that have been developed over the last year and a half. Ryan Butcher was able to get the most out of it and put that car on pole for the Sundrop 500. I believe it's been the past 3 seasons that the biggest and main Daytona race has had a SBR driver on the front row. Last season, Brady Burkhart in the Crown Royal 300, and I believe the season before he started on the front row as well. So SBR really kings of plate race qualifying. Ryan Butcher on the front row, as long as he survives this race and survives any mechanical failures, if they can get through without any mechanical failures, he will start on the pole for the Sundrop 500 Sunday. Alongside him is Stephen Wallace Jr. moving over to Gatlin Downey Inc. for a full-time season on loan from CFRO and that alliance partnership. Those guys are the front row. 22 drivers in duel number 1, 22 in duel number 2 makes for 44 entries for the inaugural Sundrop Cup Series race. That being said, 42 entries, 42 drivers actually can make the show, just like in the Crown Royal Truck Series, meaning 2 drivers will go home. And the 2 drivers right now, pretty much, it's cut straight and forward. 1 driver is a late entry that we'll see in duel number 2, but in duel number 1, it's John Dilks in this Robert Gearhart Racing number 36. He does not have a qualifying time. The engine let go before the car even got out onto the track in the 36 before his qualifying run, and he has no owner's points to fall back on, as this is a brand new team that did not buy owner's points for this one-off race. That means if Dilks does not finish as the top 14 drivers other than Ryan Butcher, he will not make the show no matter what. He would be listed as 43rd fastest in qualifying, and with no owner's points, that drops him immediately out of getting the points, the 4-point spots at the end of this. So he will have to try to race his way in. If he does race his way in, the guy alongside him, Joseph Strigley, could be one of the drivers in the hot seat. But as you see this field here, 22 drivers, it's going to be entertaining. 20 laps here at Daytona. We'll see how the Cup cars handle compared to the trucks. The Cup cars, of course, a bit slower now that the series is back to more of a leveled playing field instead of all the research and development that has gone into the MDCS and CRTS as of late. But we'll have to see if these guys will race differently than the trucks. Let's go down trackside for the commands to fire the engines for the Procore Duel number 1 at Daytona.
Drivers, start your engines!
With that, the engines are fired. 22 drivers for 20 laps here at Daytona. Ryan Butcher with SBR in the GDI number 65 on rail 1. Nicky Morris in his own car making a great performance there. 5th fastest in qualifying. For that Hulu number 7, he starts 3rd. Larry Hagan in the TSR entry in 4th. Defending truck champ Carson Bowers moves into 5th, as 6th is Kev Shearer in the car that Alex Beniaco drove in the Clash to 14th. In 7th, Dwayne Rockefeller on loan from Kyle Corbin Motorsports over to Johnson Performance. An interesting move by this team, jumping from MDCS to full-time Cup competition, just not with the same driver all year. Alongside him, Christian Vargas in the part-time Sauber Racing Team entry. Bobo Jones rolls off in 9th for one of the 2 part-time multiple driver Monster Motorsports cars, and in 10th, Noah Kim for Harmon Benning Peterson. In 11th is Zachary DeLello, 12th Gatlin Downey, 13th Colton Lane in the move to Monster Motorsports, and 14th Tim Foster, 2-time winner last season. 15th Dusty Neal, and 16th Matty Porta returning to Sauber Racing Team. 17th is Logan Bradley filling in for injured DJ Gibson. It says Gibson on the back because that's how the NSDCA handles injuries. You still put the name of the regular driver on the car, Logan Bradley just being a fill-in while we wait for DJ. Alongside him, Jacob Rose in the number 23 for BK Racing. Kukulon running full-time for RER, and Jacob Edson with a poor qualifying performance for SBR. Joseph Strigley in a one-off for his own team in the Canac number 63. And John Dilks, the driver who has to race his way into the show, he rolls off 22nd. 22 drivers in the field. One of them has to race their way in for sure. The rest hoping that he doesn't. Green flag is in the air. We are racing here at Daytona. Butcher versus Stephen Wallace Jr. for the race lead as they head into 1. Outside line much more organized, a better start almost for the outside line as Vargas is actually going to make it 3 wide on Kev Shearer. Now it's going to falter away as they head through the corner, but that inside line was just not put together. Now they are, as Nicky Morris is all over the back of Butcher. Down the back straightaway. These cars are slower than the trucks. That means they could be clunky or could be pushing a bigger hole in the air, and they can't get out to the speeds that the trucks were showing here at Daytona. So this is going to be a different kind of racing, probably more of a pack style akin to the early seasons of the NSDCA than what we've seen now at super speedways like Daytona and Talladega. Nicky Morris, though, in the 7 wants to go up and lead this first lap, and he will. Nicky Morris leads lap number 1 here at Daytona. Great to see a small team, JRL Racing, up in front. 3 wide behind him between 3 of some strong drivers in the NSDCA. Bowers, Butcher, and Stephen Wallace Jr. Hagan now stuck on the outside line behind that 65. Bowers moving into second. Here comes Dwayne Rockefeller in the 51. He moves himself into the 3rd spot. As soon as he can clear Ryan Butcher, goes up the track to tuck in front of Ryan Butcher as Carson Bowers trying to get the momentum down the back. Up front, can Bowers make a move on Nicky? Not going to happen. Hopefully he doesn't get moved by Rockefeller. Bobo Jones now in the 95, going to move himself to the 4th position on the inside. DeLello trying to make a move on the bottom. Butcher and Vargas working that outside line as best as they can as Rockefeller tries to go up and block that. Now comes back down in front of the 95 across the line. Nicky Morris continuing to lead here at Daytona, but here comes Bowers now with a big run coming out of the tri-oval down the front into turn 1, and that's going to give Bowers the race lead as he moves along by Morris and Rockefeller. Already at the back, Dusty Neal has dropped to the back, 22nd currently. Most likely locked in with his owner's points, at least, in that 94 car. Didn't have a good qualifying run, but even if he loses the draft, those owner's points should come in handy over some of the other guys that probably will get knocked out. But Dusty Neal in this number 94, hoping that this season will go better. Joseph Strigley now in that 63 down there. They're stacking up front, and they are 2 and 3 wide still as everyone's trying to move lines, trying to figure out where they want to go. Bobo Jones has moved into second as Monster Motorsports. Neither of their full-time drivers are in this grid, Carter Friesen and DJ Curtis. They have 2 of their multiple driver cars in here, though, with the number 95 of Bobo Jones, and the 05, you see the Mutant Energy 05 catching up there. That is Colton Lane in that 05 car. Coming down the back, John Dilks, Joseph Strigley still sitting at the back. Again, Strigley can probably make it in on points, as his qualifying performance was bad, but he does have owner's points on that 63 car because he ran trucks last year, and that's what the owner's points are being used from for this Cup Series season to lock people in. Carson Bowers continuing to lead. Last season's Crown Royal 300 winner, Zachary DeLello, has now moved into second. Bobo Jones trying to go down and block 2 lanes as Kev Shearer and Colton Lane are right there as well. DeLello, though, catching on up, going to try to make a move, and it looks like he's going to make it stick there as he dives down into turn number 1 and 2. To the race lead goes Zachary DeLello in the 57. The 57 won their duel yesterday. That was Logan Bradley. Now DeLello trying to do that again. Same team, same car, just different driver. Bobo Jones on the inside has multiple part-time guys at the bottom. Kev Shearer, Christian Vargas there leading the GDI duo as here comes Bobo Jones, but Kev wants to look and he wants to go. Bowers now getting shuffled out in that 25. Who knows if that outside line will come into power in these with the new cars, as now the 05 Elaine powers up the middle as Vargas fell back, and now he's trying to push on up, but now that's going to put Bobo to the outside, Kev Shearer to the bottom as the field rushes around. Joseph Strigley, John Dilks still at the back of this one. Dilks is the one you have to watch, though, in this race. He is the one that matters if he can make the show through racing in or not. Shearer in the 30, the 05 of Colton Lane right behind him as Kev's going to go up, but he's not going to have any help. Was trying to side draft the 95, and here comes Colton Lane with some big momentum on the inside. Nicky Morris, Christian Vargas, Stephen Wallace Jr., and Larry Hagan all on the inside, as well as DeLello and Bobo Jones now stuck on the very outside. Kev Shearer trying to make something happen in that middle line, trying to get back up there as Bobo's going to go up, or Colton's going to go up, try to catch Bobo. Not going to happen, so he goes back to the bottom. The Mutant Energy 05 out in front currently at Daytona, but how long? Because this pack of cars behind still are going to be strong. Unlike in the trucks, you got guys like Jay Jefferson, Alex Banyaka with some very strong trucks and very good at working in the draft. So not many guys can catch and pass them now. You can't really get those big runs, pull away, and run single file for long because you will just run over everyone else. You see Christian Vargas in that 08 making a move on the 7 there as he dives to the inside for second. Yeah, you just run up on them because these cars tap out at a higher speed a lot earlier. Because the teams have not unlocked the full potential of this equipment yet. Plus, they're all pretty much equal, so really, you're just the whole thing is the draft here at Daytona. That's the big thing there. John Dilks, though, starting to move his way on up. He's on that inside line. You see him in this 36 here. I believe that 3-wide battle up front is for around the 15th position, so he's trying his best. It's the top 14 that race their way in. Then it's solved. So the way the duels work, if you don't know already, is the front row is locked in. That's Ryan Butcher and whoever starts on pole for duel number 2. The top 14 after Ryan Butcher that finish in the grid, if he finishes inside the top 14, are in the show. That makes up your row 2 to row 15 of the grid. The next 6 spots are filled in by the fastest qualifying time, and the final 4 spots filled in by owner's points. The problem is the 36 does not have owner's points, and their qualifying time was not able, they were not able to get a qualifying time because they blew an engine on pit road somehow, so they have to race their way in, and currently he is in that last transfer spot, or battling for that last transfer spot, as Ryan Butcher is behind him. He is fighting Tip Foster right now for that transfer spot about halfway through this one. Up front, though, the 08 of Christian Vargas has taken the race lead. Now Rockefeller and Nicky Morris looking to the bottom. Vargas goes back down to try to block. That's going to work as you see a lot of underdogs up front. This could be what we're seeing this year in the Sundrop Cup Series. Again, the Crown Royal Truck Series took about a year or two to actually get people really spread out, getting teams to start pulling up to the front. Is, man, Rockefeller really slowed down coming off of the corner, allows Colton Lane to get a run on Vargas, and he might be able to take the lead here with that momentum, and that he will. But it took about a season to get those cars spread out. We have 10 more races than the inaugural Crown Royal Truck Series season, so that could help with upgrades a bit more and getting these guys working together. Plus, we had off-season testing that allowed upgrading to these Cup cars if you went to tests. The Truck Series did not have that, and they were pretty even back in the day, except, you know, a few guys were able to pull away, like Diego Yepes and Blake Maurice. This season might even be closer. We only have about 20 full-time drivers, I think, running for 12 chase spots, so that's more than half the full-time grid that could make the chase this season. So a lot of drivers could be happy to get themselves into the chase. Ryan Butcher has now fallen to last. Matty Porta's back there as well. But as we were saying, yeah, this season's going to be very weird. We might see some underdogs up front. Colton Lane, not an underdog by any means, but in that car, probably. It's a part-time entry. Nicky Morris and Christian Vargas, definitely 2 underdogs, and they're out here right now leading this field. Dwayne Rockefeller in the 51 also back there. So you got 4 underdogs pretty much on the first 4 spots here at Daytona. You won't really see that in the trucks as the top guys are really pulling away and holding the field at bay in the trucks. But we might see some surprise winners this season. Colton Lane continues to the lead. Top 4 single filed out. Stephen Wallace Jr. fighting Carson Bowers. Bowers wants that outside line. Logan Bradley working his way through. Again, he was the winner yesterday in the Crown Royal Truck Series duels. And right now, here comes the 36 of John Dilks. He's inside the top 10, fighting his way in. This is what Dilks wants to see, but not what Strigley wants to see, especially if a lot of the drivers who don't have owners points coming in could actually beat Strigley, could actually beat some of these guys, because you got guys back here like Tib Foster, Gatlin Downey, Matty Porta, Jacob Edson. That's guys who could all use owners points right there. That could knock Strigley even out of the owners points contention, and he does not have a strong qualifying time to fall back on. Vargas now your new race leader. Nicky Morris in the 7 trying to hang on, but Christian Vargas now out in the race lead for Schauber Racing Team. 8 laps to go as Zachary DeLello is going to bounce off of the wall further back. Nicky Morris looking to the bottom now. That's for the 2nd position on the 05 of Colton Lane. Further back, Stephen Wallace Jr., Logan Bradley trying to get themselves in. John Dilks there as well. The 06. Let's talk about Noah Kim coming out with a top 10 in the Crown Royal Truck Series duels yesterday for Ford Performance Racing, trying to get one for Harmon Benning Peterson this year. And HBP, the team owners, you see that very interesting paint scheme. Yeah, don't know what's going on there, but that's a ton of sponsorship. Nice to see that team, that small team, getting a bunch of sponsorships, especially for being one of the fan favorites of the NSDCA there in that 06 car. Now John Dilks shuffled to the outside, tried to go to the outside to try to make a run. Could be going 3 wide now, and that could be bad for John. Worked his way inside the top 10. again, now starting to drop back. Nicky Morris now up here. The top 4 hasn't really changed hands. Stephen Wallace Jr., Carson Bowers are trying to get themselves into the top 4 as they fight the 05, and that's going to shove Colton Lane out of here as Stephen Wallace Jr. moves on in. SWJ also does not have owner's points, but he did qualify 3rd quickest on pole day, meaning that he is locked in on his qualifying time as those go first. So Stephen Wallace Jr., nothing to worry about here. He's just trying to still start this race in 3rd, start the Sundrop 500 in 3rd if he can win this race. Vargas and Rockefeller out in front. The rest of the field spread out further back as they've calmed down to 2x2 racing. Now, Christian Vargas, Dwayne Rockefeller, Nicky Morris, your top 3. In 4th is Stephen Wallace Jr., 5th Colton Lane, 6th Logan Bradley, 7th Noah Kim, 8th Carson Bowers, 9th is the 12 of Sebastian Kukulon, 10th, Tib Foster currently. Downey 11th, Dilks 12th, Porta 13th, Neal 14th, Butcher 15th. If Butcher finishes inside the top 14, then 15th will lock themselves in. If Butcher finishes outside of the top 14, he will take that one of those 15 transfer spots that are technically in this because he is the pole sitter. Confusing, I know, but if you know NASCAR, if you knew the old NASCAR format, that's about the same as this here in the NSDCA. Of course, we adopted a lot of things when we took over from NASCAR for stock car racing. Vargas out in front, though. Nicky Morris trying to chase him down. And it seems like a lot more of the underdogs are up front here, maybe because the bigger guys don't want to start racing each other too hard and waste their equipment. Now Carson Bowers gets back to the inside. I think that's like the first time he's gotten to the inside all race long since he got shuffled out. Logan Bradley tries to go down and block. Not going to happen. So Carson Bowers could throw a wrench in the plans if he can catch back up. Matty Porta, Tib Foster there. 2 other Dodges behind that Andrade 25 that could get themselves in there. Stephen Wallace Jr. now making some moves on Nicky Morris and Christian Vargas up here as Nicky's going to be shoved out into that outside line with almost no help. As long as that inside line doesn't really screw themselves over, that 7 team should be able to drop back a bit further, but he's now back there. Stephen Wallace Jr. catching up to Christian Vargas. Vargas in that 08 trying to hang on. Stephen Wallace Jr. in 2nd. 3rd, Colton Lane as they come down the front straightaway here. Stephen Wallace Jr. again 3rd fastest on pole day, but that doesn't matter to where you start for the Sundrop 500. You have to race and win this race to be 3rd in the starting order, and right now that's what he's trying to do. Colton Lane now dropping back down to the inside in that 05, trying to get a momentum run on the 30 on the 05, 08 and 65 there, as now we're getting single filed out up front. Logan Bradley, I don't know what he's doing. Man, him and Bowers have been going at it for this race. He tried to block him earlier, and now Bowers on that inside line trying to make something happen against Bradley as he gets a push from Nicky Morris coming off of the corner. Now Bradley tucks back in down once again. Top 4 single filed out. Logan Bradley trying to catch on up as Colton Lane goes for another move. Rockefeller won't go there, but coming off of the tri-oval is much better of a place to make a move on your own to the bottom than it is on the back straightaway, as it is much shorter than this long back straightaway when these guys are hitting the rev limiter in these cars. John Dilks, you see that Napa-colored car back there, still trying to fight their way up. The team came in with unsponsored equipment. It was all black car for that qualifying day, but of course the engine failed. John Dilks was announced to be the driver the day of qualifying, and Napa decided to give them some logos to slap on the car. Out in front, though, Christian Vargas trying to hang on over Stephen Wallace Jr. 2 laps to go here at Daytona. Colton Lane in 3rd, Rockefeller 4th, Logan Bradley 5th. Kukulon fighting back there with Downey as the field goes 3x3 further back. Can Stephen Wallace Jr. have anything for Christian Vargas, or will Colton Lane try to do that again, move to the inside of Wallace Jr., try to go for the win himself? SWJ looks down a little bit. Lane's definitely going to go down to the inside now, and that's going to cost, I think, both of those guys. Stop fighting for 2nd. That's what cost everyone their chances at the wins in the duels and the clash, because everyone but Austin Murray in the clash basically was fighting each other. Downey now has Kukulon to the inside. Top 5 coming off. John Dilks in that 63 is putting himself into the show if he can just hang on up front. Stephen Wallace Jr. trying to back off of Christian Vargas, but white flag is in the air for the SRT number 08. Another driver we got to worry about, Joseph Strigley. He's the one in the catbird seat now. or in the hot water seat, not the catbird seat, in the 63. If he doesn't race his way in, he might face elimination as well. Coming off the corner, though, Vargas out in front. Can Stephen Wallace Jr. catch him? Dwayne Rockefeller in the 53 back in third. Logan Bradley versus Colton Lane fourth and fifth. Here comes SWJ to the inside. This is looking to be a last lap pass, and he's going to get a nose to the inside. Here comes GDI's Stephen Wallace Jr. to the inside, looking to win this race. Side by side, coming off the corner for second between Rockefeller and Vargas. SWJ goes up. Does Vargas have momentum on the outside? Carrying side by side. Drag race to the line. Stephen Wallace Jr. will win duel number 1. A last lap dash. He let go. He dropped back after Lane was fighting him. He tried to mount a charge and he got in the draft, pushed down the back straightaway. SWJ wins duel number 1 here, Procore duel number 1 at Daytona. Vargas second, Dwayne Rockefeller third, Colton Lane fourth. It seems like these top 4, once they got out in front, they really could not be passed by the rest of the grid, just held their positions. Great move by Kukulon getting himself into the top 10, and John Dilks advances his way for Robert Gearhart Racing into the show. 8th position there. And now that possibly puts Joseph Srigley, who comes home in the 19th position, not locking himself in a rough spot. Ryan Butcher's in the top 10. He finishes 10th, so that means 15th will also lock their way in, and that is Matty Porta. Harmon Benning Peterson is in the show. JRL is in the show. So currently, Larry Hagan in the 21 car. The 30 of Kev Shearer, Dusty Neal for CFRO, Joseph Srigley, Jacob Edson, Jacob Rose, and the 57 of Zachary DeLello, your defending Crown Royal 300 champ, all out of this one so far, so they'll have to hope for some end things as Bobo Jones is doing a 360 on pit road. Must have been some incidents on pit road, but as everyone brings it on down, that puts a few guys in jeopardy. Jacob Rose has no owner's points to fall back on in the 23 car, while Srigley does, which could make a difference later on. Other drivers in the field with good qualifying runs currently. Larry Hagan's locked himself in with his qualifying time, so he'll most likely take one of those spots there for the 21 team. Kev Shearer also had a very strong qualifying run, so he might lock himself in there as well. Dusty Neal could probably get in on owner's points. Jacob Edson could get in on owner's points. Zachary DeLello could get in on owner's points, which means that 23 and 63 right now are the 2 drivers that are going to have to watch and wait for duel number 2 to see if they will make the Sundrop 500. But we will go ahead out for a little bit, come back to duel number 2, Procore duel number 2 here at Daytona, with the rest of your 44 entries racing their way into the Sundrop 500. Coming up for the Procore duel number 2 at Daytona, another 22 drivers fighting for another 20 laps. This time, though, the driver that needs to race his way in, Scott Roush in the Ditech number 29, was a late entry, signed up after qualifying and arrived to the track. That is legal here at Daytona since the duels set the field. But the team does not have a qualifying time to fall back on, nor do they have owner's points. So that team is going to have to race their way in. John Dilks already raced his way in. If the 29 races their way in, then it could mean Joseph Srigley, Jacob Rose, Nathan Stapleton, or even the 05 of Colton Lane. Well, he's already in. The 69 of Jose Perez, if the 29 races in, those guys could have to race their way in as well. Let's go down trackside for the commands to fire the engines for duel number 2 here at Daytona.
Drivers, start your engines!
Cloudy day here at Daytona. Rains have been rumored to be moving in over the weekend, so hoping that they will be able to avoid the track for the festivities this weekend with the Valvoline 200, Crown Royal 300, and Sundrop 500. Matthew Eves the fastest. He's second quickest. If he survives this race, he is starting on the outside of the front row for the Sundrop 500. Alongside him, Anderson Reed with a very strong car for Reed Racing. Colton Yo in the 79 will lock his way in, and Patrick Smith raced his way in, qualified his way in here in that number 61. For Hagan Enterprises, a jump from DPDS to Cup Series Racing. only a part-time team, though. Peter Onjak alongside him, Mikey Yamakaze in an R&D Butcher Gatorade Motorsports car. Duel 1 winner from the Crown Royal Truck Series, Jay Jefferson. Once he got in front, he was not passed. Alongside him, Cody Smart. 2 rivals right there in row 4. Riley Spurleytube in a part-time entry for TSR Racing, and the one-off for GDI, Jose Perez in the 69. Alex Fletcher rolls off in the 72. Alongside him is the 07 of Casey Mears. In 2 part-time entries there. Brandon Morris, a full-time driver, in his run back with Nathan Stapleton and R&D number 04 for Ron Giotto. Carter Friesen, throwback to his old Allegiant colors. He will be rolling off near the back here. Alongside him, Cody Goforth in the NBM number 27. Diego Yepes in a move to Butcher Gatorade Motorsports will start alongside Brady Burkhart back there. And 5 drivers, the bottom 5 going to the back of the pack other than the 29. Crash in qualifying for DJ Curtis in the 5 car. An engine failure for the 91. A mechanical failure for the 8 and a mechanical failure for the 99. Put them to the back. Coming down to take this green flag, it's going to be a 20-lap event. Matthew Eves and Anderson Reed alongside each other. Green flag is in the air. We are racing for Procore Duel number 2 here at Daytona. Coming down the front straightaway into turn 1, Eves is going to pull out into the race lead. Already, though, Jay Jefferson being shuffled 3 wide. He doesn't have the strong car that he has in the Truck Series. He does not have that powerful 48 truck in the Truck Series here today for the Cup Duels. So now he has to go back to mostly equal equipment, try to fight his way through the field with just bumping and banging, as you're going to be seeing here at Daytona. Peter Onjak down to the inside, and Colton Yo in the Evernham number 79 up to the front. It was mostly underdogs who led up front here at the first duel, including Dwayne Rockefeller, the 08 of Christian Vargas, and others. So part-time entries were pretty much dominating that one. We have a couple more full-time entries in here. Matthew Eves, Peter Onjak, Jay Jefferson, some strong guys right there. But this race is basically a sea of part-time cars, part-time drivers. As Mikey Yamakaze already puts it into the outside wall. He will hold up Cody Smart there in the 75 team. Smart can fall back on qualifying time for sure. I believe 14th quickest there, but he does need to survive this race because the 75 team of Tony Zhang Motorsports definitely needs all the help they can get to stay afloat this year. Riley Spurleytube down to the inside, ex-TSR driver, moving over to Smart Motorsports. Alex Fletcher down to the bottom. Nathan Stapleton in the 04 trying to get a run down there as well, as Colton Yo is going to pull into the race lead. Spurleytube now fighting as they go 3 wide coming off of the corner back there, and the second half of the grid pretty much spreading out there. Scott Roush, though, doing what he needs to do in that number 29 for Ditech. Already from 21st up to the top 20 and fighting now ahead of 5 drivers further back as he's working his way towards the front. He wants to get inside that top 15 because that is the only way he's going to be able to race his way in. Again, finish 14th if Matthew Eves finish 14th or better if Matthew Eves finishes outside of the top 14. 15th or better if Eves is inside the top 15. That's how that works, since Eves is already locked into the show with his front row position. Peter Onjak now in the 44 is going to move that Menards patriotic scheme to the front. This year, the NSDCA finally going in on some themed races. 2 patriotic events for 4th of July and another date to be announced as well. They are racing the pink out colors back once again here in the NSDCA in the trucks and cup. So Onjak, he has this Menards team for, I believe, 3 sponsored races. They wanted to be the actual Menards colors, so he decided to put them on the patriotic scheme with the team. They decided on that, so he is running this red, white, and blue car here today. Alex Fletcher moves himself in the 72 up into second. Nathan Stapleton on the back there. Brady Burkhart started pretty far back. He's already up inside the top 10. A strong driver here at Daytona, 2-time pole sitter of the Crown Royal 300, as now Alex Fletcher down to the inside, and he's going to go for the race lead on Peter Onjak immediately in the Napa Auto Parts number 72. That is the battle for the race lead, and it will be Alex Fletcher clearing Onjak coming off of the corner. Down the front straightaway, though, Onjak fights back on the outside, but Colton Yo is going to jump down and abandon him. Yo trying to hang on up front as Onjak goes side by side with Alex Fletcher using that outside line, and now they're going to go 3 wide heading into the corner. Colton Yo wants this race lead back for Evernham. Nathan Stapleton bringing the 04 back up on the inside for Ron Giotto. That's an R&D car there. They don't really have to worry about that, as the NSDCA did give out some free R&D cars to any teams who wanted to enter some extra cars in the Sundrop 500, so we could have a full field. Anderson Reed all over the back of Morris. 3 wide, could be 4 wide heading into the corner between 2 TSR guys. They're beating and banging between Morris, Spurleytube, Jefferson, and Eves. 4 wide coming off of the corner. What's going to happen there? Jay is trying everything he can. He's going to shove himself down in front of Morris. Curtis, and that was dangerous there between those guys. That almost took out TSR, possibly the whole field. Great car control by those guys, and Jefferson will be able to get himself to the inside, but that was dangerous there. Coming through 3 and 4. Colton Yo now. Alex Fletcher and Nathan Stapleton. Once again, it's some of the underdogs up front out here. Since these cars are much more equal, really, it's all about driver skill and who can actually race on in there with the draft. Jay Jefferson now all over the back of Nathan Stapleton. Looked like it could have gone 4 wide again if Spurley Tube had that momentum to the bottom, but Jefferson's going to go down and block that. Now sitting in the middle of this pack, in middle of the line, is Scott Roush trying to race this Ditech number 29 into the show. Further back, you got Mikey Yamakaze, Carter Freeze, and DJ Curtis. For Monster Motorsports, man, these guys are not doing too hot. DJ crashed it on his opening lap of qualifying, just like Jay Jefferson did in the Crown Royal Truck Series qualifying. Jay went on to win that heat, to win that duel after taking the lead on lap 5, pulling on away. Now DJ Curtis in the 5, trying to catch on up and pass these guys all over the back of the 27, as he has teammate Carter Friesen back there. The 27 of Cody Goforth is also an alliance partner to this team, or satellite partner to this team. So these guys are trying to work together as Carter's actually going to move DJ out of the way. Up front, Alex Fletcher really trying to block Brady Burkhart. These guys are just 3x3 throughout the field. Scott Roush and Morris are going to bang off of each other. Brandon getting abused out there as he's been on the inside line for 2 contacts. Into the outside wall goes Matthew Eves. As long as he can keep it up into the wall, not come down and wreck, he's fine. And that might be the wake-up call for Eves to just drop to the back, not tear up this 47 any further. He wants to run this car in the Sundrop 500, starting second. Mears near the back. Jose Perez near the back. The 91 of Logan Cloud. Not Logan Cloud, as Cloud retired. Austin Murray in the back. Mikey Yamakaze up there as well. Casey Mears pretty much locked in. Actually, no, Casey Mears is locked in from the owner's points. His owner's points given to him from Onge Auto. I believe a top 10 run in owners given to him from Onge Auto. So he is definitely locked into the show in that number 07 car. Jose Perez has no owner's points. A pretty poor qualifying run. It's about mid-pack, but that's pretty poor. And right now he is one of the drivers that could be facing a possibility of him losing the show, if he losing his chance at the 500 if he does not make it in. Fletcher now to the inside of Jefferson as Jefferson took the race lead. So it looks like here the big difference between Cup and Truck, Jay Jefferson can be passed for the race lead once he gets out in front of it. Alex Fletcher now goes up, blocks for the race lead. Colton Yo up here. And look at Scott Roush. He's not just trying to race his way into the show. He's trying to win this thing and start this car in 3rd. He's already up inside the top 5 for Ditech, moving this 29 through the field rapidly, trying to use that inside line, trying to push himself up further into this top 15 to lock him into the show. And this is nerve-wracking for Joseph Strigley sitting on the sidelines. He has owner's points to fall back on, but a lot of strong teams fell back on owner's points. They might have to wait for qualifying results, and we'll just have to wait till the end of this race to see who will be in. But Joseph Strigley's got to be sweating sitting on the sidelines in that 63. Did not race his way into the show. Poor qualifying time. Has owner's points, but they're at the very back. He is on the edge as Scott Roush now tries to do what John Dilks did, race his way into the show. Jefferson looking to the inside of alliance partner satellite team Evernham. Colton Yo in the 79, of course, signed to Jay Jefferson's TSR team. But Colton Yo out here alone to Evernham, as Evernham's the satellite. They're working on that outside as the TSR duo works the inside. Now Scott Roush, he's trying to get around Riley Spurley Tube even. So Roush wants to go. He wants to move on through this field. He has some Toyotas around him. Yepes, though, is going to try to break his ankles coming off of the corner. Going to shove Roush to the high side as here comes Yepes down to the bottom. And Matthew Eves did hit the wall. I think that is the wake-up call. Eves does not want to tear this car up any more than it is. He's going to have to buff out some right side damage. So now that 47 car pacing just about a second off of the pace. He's just going to ride it around, try to bring this thing home in one piece. They've been getting aggressive up front. Maybe that was his sign to back on out. He's already in the show. He's locked in. 22nd, not going to matter here if he finishes there. He'll start second on Sunday. Eric Monaco out in front. Jay Jefferson all over the back of him. Colton Yo now in that 79 has moved his way into that 3rd spot, trying to chase down Jay, and he's not going to go with Jay as Austin Murray bounces off the wall back there in front of Carter Friesen. That might drop Murray back outside of this group with Carter, as Carter owns that number 91 team. And look at this. We have the 85, the 91 possibly not going to race their way in. They're going to have to fall back on qualifying and owner's points, which makes it even worse. For guys like Joseph Strigley, actually, Strigley has more owner's points than the 23 of Jacob Rose, and Rose did not race his way into the show in the last heat as well. So there is a lot of possibilities. If Scott Roush races his way in, we could be seeing some guys up the order in qualifying out of the show. Alex Fletcher in the race leads. Second is the 79 of Yo. Third, Jefferson. Fourth, Brady Burkhart as they pull away. DJ Curtis has brought that backup car up to the 5th spot. Nathan Stapleton in the 04 is 6th. 7th is Eli Bright in the 8 car. That is the one-off R&D that the NSDCA gave TSR. Spurley Tube up here as well. All of the TSR cars, all 3 of them, in this group, other than Larry Hagan. Hagan's the full-time driver. He did not race his way in last heat as well, but he does have the qualifying time to fall back on. But 3 of the TSR guys are fighting up here. Eli Bright, Riley Spurley Tube, Larry Hagan out of this one, was in the last heat, but Jay Jefferson also up front. Patrick Smith, though, put on a fantastic qualifying performance. 8th fastest, locks him into the show, and now he is driving inside this top 10, trying to go on and win this race. Further back, you got Peter Onjak, Diego Yepes, Mikey Yamakaze back into this, and Scott Roush. Right there is the battle for that 13th position, and there is 14th right there. That is the cutoff spot. The final transfer spot is Jose Perez right now. Morris sitting just behind it. With Matthew Eves off the pace, you're going to have to finish inside the top 14 if you want to make the show, and Scott Roush in that 29 trying to work there. Now, DJ Curtis to the inside of Jay Jefferson as Colton Yo was pushed past, and Alex Fletcher took the to the outside, going to drop back some spots. Curtis and Jefferson now, both now nose to tail as they come through 3 and 4 for 2nd and 3rd. Patrick Smith now trying to slide up, take some spots there, and he's trying to get some momentum there. And there is the battle with just 6 laps to go. Scott Roush is 14th right now, but Morris in that 55 and Reed in the 1 are trying to get by that number 29. Jose Perez jumps back to the outside. He's another guy that might want to race his way in, especially if that 29 is racing up here, because the 29 could end up kicking out the number 69. That is the battle right there for the 14th position between Morris and Perez. That's 13th now as Scott Roush sits just behind it. Anderson Reed is in, qualified 4th fastest. Casey Mears is in, has some good owner's points. The 75 of Cody Smart probably in off of his lap time, a top 15 run. Cody Goforth could be sitting nervous, but he does have owner's points from the 77 from the Monster Motorsports team, I do believe. Scott Roush now looking to the outside. He's going to power past Perez and Morris on that outside line as they're stacking up here. DJ Curtis, your new race leader as they go, but we are focused on this transfer battle between Roush, Perez, Reed, Morris. They're all fighting for it. Other guys off the back of the pack. Friesen, he's going to be locked in with owner's points. Eves locked in with his qualifying time. The 91, the engine problem sets them back, but they should be able to make it in on owner's points as well. This is nerve-wracking for Joseph Strigley and Jacob Rose. If Scott Roush races their way in, those two could be the ones facing the door, because the rest of this grid has stuff that can work and get themselves into the show. Scott Roush has nothing he can fall back on. 4 laps to go this time by. He's fighting on the outside, trying to get past Casey Mears as they come off the corner. A big run off the corner as now he's all over the back of Morris. That is the battle, I believe, right there between these two for the transfer spot. Morris 14th, Roush 15th. That is the battle we are watching on track as they go at it up front. Patrick Smith in the 61 bringing his car into the mix. Brady Burkhart, Riley Spurley to bring it into the mix. Roush right now is 1 position away from making the Sundrop 500 as DJ Curtis leads 2 lines out in front here at Daytona. Roush all over the back of Morris, trying to push them past, trying to get this line to go. Spurley Tube now could be shoved 3 wide by Peter Onjak. Those two are now an alliance partner with TSR and Onjato. But here they come off the corner. Eli Bright's into the outside wall in that 8 car. He does not have owner's points to fall back on. He does not have a decent lap time either because he crashed, so Eli Bright could be facing elimination now as they come on around. Scott Roush right there in the 29. That is the battle right here for this final transfer spot as they go down the front. Curtis now. Colton Yo's going to jump to the inside of Curtis back there, and now Scott Roush shoved 3 wide by Cody Goforth. Friesen's back into the fight. Up in front, we'll take a quick look as DJ Curtis tries to get a run on the outside. Will he do the crossover on him? Brady Burkhart's going to leave Patrick Smith behind. Jefferson trying to clear. He's going to go with Colton Yo. Now Burkhart trying to work his way on up here as well. Looking further back, though, the field, we go to the helicopter cam. There is Scott Roush fighting. Him and Eli Bright might both be sitting here waiting to make their way into the show. And the inside line, a big old checkup. Eli Bright moves on the outside. It looked like Patrick Smith might have came down, tried to block him. 2 laps to go now. The top 4 have pulled away. We're not worried about the battle for the race lead right now. We are worried about Scott Roush versus Eli Bright possibly being the 2 to race their way into the show right here. And that was, Eli Bright was the transfer spot last time. Scott Roush now working that inside line. Back up front, it is all DJ Curtis and Jay Jefferson out in front. Alex Fletcher is going to try to make a move in that 72 car. Now Colton Yo in the 79 there as well. Brady Burkhardt on the inside. Looking further back there, 2x2. Can Roush get the run on the inside line? He's going to check up with that inside line as they're all stacking up together. Now he's trying to work his way through. Jefferson coming to the white flag. He wants to sweep 2 duels in a weekend. Curtis out in front, trying to go from almost last to first challenge. Now he's fighting Jay Jefferson for this race lead, and Jay's going to get a nose to the inside. He's going to move that number 5 up the track. Here comes Burkhardt in the 99. Looking further back, this is the battle right here between Roush and Bright for the final transfer spot. If Roush races his way in, that could mean Strigley and Rose would be out, but if Roush doesn't make it in, it might be just Rose going out. Bright is past there in that 8. He's dropping back in the 8 car. Now, Scott Roush trying everything he can. Up in front, Jay Jefferson and Curtis are going to have a drag race coming to the line. No, Jefferson's going to block him. Now, the 29 and 8, they're going. They're drag racing to the line. Jefferson is going to win. And I'm not sure. Mikey Yamakaze might have been ahead of these guys, and that could have cost them their transfer spot. But as we go here, 15th for Scott Roush, and he'll miss it by just 1 position here at Daytona. Unofficially, we have it as Scott Roush being the driver out, but we will go ahead calculate those results. Be right back after this. 2 entertaining duels here for the Sundrop Cup Series. We'll line up the 42 car field, and this is how they will line up. On the front row, Ryan Butcher and Matthew Eves, they got the front row from pool day qualifying. And then in row 2, your race winners, Stephen Wallace Jr. and Jay Jefferson, round up row 2. In row 3, Christian Vargas for Sauber Racing Team with a great start, and DJ Curtis will start in 6th. 7th is Dwayne Rockefeller. Johnson Performance looking to go out there and actually win the Sundrop 500, starting 7th for that race. Brady Burkhardt sits 8th. 9th is Colton Lane, and 10th, the 72 of Alex Fletcher. An interesting top 10, but we'll see who will be able to take the early lead and try to dominate the Sundrop 500. The next group of drivers, row 6 sits Logan Bradley in the 53 and Nathan Stapleton in the 04. Row 7, Sebastian Kukulon and Riley Spurleytube. Row 8, Gatlin Downey and Patrick Smith. Row 9, John Dilks and Jose Perez. And in row 10, that Harmon Benning Peterson entry of Noah Kim and the Evernham entry of Colton Yo. In row number 11 sits Nicky Morris, who had a great qualifying run, was undone in the duels, but dropped back a little bit. He'll start 21st. Diego Yepes starts 22nd. Tim Foster will roll off alongside teammate Peter Onjak in row number 12. Row 13 is the other Andrado driver, Carson Bowers, the defending Crown Royal Truck Series champion. Alongside him, Brandon Morris in row 13. Row 14 sits Bobo Jones in the 95 and his own driver, Cody Goforth, in the 27. And row 15, the other Sauber Racing Team entry of Matty Porta and the 01 of Mikey Yamakaze. Those are the 30 drivers that were able to race their way in through the duels. Now the field that is in on qualifying time: Anderson Reed, Larry Hagan, Kev Shearer, Cody Smart, Zachary DeLello, and Austin Murray fill up those spots. Meanwhile, the drivers in on owner's points: Carter Friesen, who really had a poor performance in the duels. Casey Mears getting that Andrado owner points. The 94 of Dusty Neal and the 82 of Jacob Edson round out your 40-car field. We have 2 more drivers, though. And those 2 final drivers are the 2 final drivers with owner's points on the schedule, and that is Joseph Strigley in the number 63 and Jacob Rose in the number 23. Meaning, with a wheel falling off in qualifying on his second run and no owner's points to the 8 team, Eli Bright will not advance to the Crown Royal or to the Sundrop 500, and Scott Roush was a late entry, did not have a qualifying time, no owner's points, had to race his way in. He comes up just one position short behind Mikey Yamakaze. Scott Roush will be out with Eli Bright. Those are your 2 DNQs for the Sundrop 500. We are excited to kick off the season at Daytona. There are rains in the forecast for Daytona, so who knows when these races will actually be coming out. It's supposed to be raining most of the weekend, so we'll see if the races can happen at their scheduled times. The Valvoline 200, Crown Royal 300, and Sundrop 500 is all that's left this weekend until we finally kick this season into high gear. Who will win the Sundrop 500? The 42 drivers in here all want to get into Daytona victory lane. We'll see who can do it. Thank you guys so much for tuning in to both of the duels, and we'll see you guys next time on the NSDCA.